Breaking news, Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hey, this is Pastor Marty. Make sure you're a subscriber to my channel. Go ahead, smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of all of my rants. Normally, I don't weigh in on what's called a breaking or developing news story. The reason being, there's too many variables at play, and I'm not so interested in quote unquote being first as much as I am in being accurate. But I am going to go ahead and weigh in that it was just announced moments ago before this video went into production that Tucker Carlson and Fox News, faux pas news, have parted company. In a statement released by Fox News, they basically said, "We thank Tucker Carlson for hosting," and that was basically it. I mean, it was really curt, it was to the point, and it was, Tucker, you're out the door. One has to wonder, how often can Fox News keep letting go the people that actually generate them, the ratings that give them the ability to say, you know, we're so much better than CNN and et cetera, because Tucker Carlson was literally the only one at Fox News that was really trying to tell the truth. Now, I had just said a few days ago, isn't it interesting that he broke the story on the January 6th incitement with all of the video evidence, which became a direct result in why the QAnon shaman has been released from prison. Funny thing that none of the other media outlets are talking about that, including Faux Pas News. But he has been released from prison, I am sure, because of the phenomenal work by Tucker Carlson in showing us him being given a guided tour of the Capitol and not literally there, you know, holding people at gunpoint and making demands, but literally being allowed into these places, being shown how to get into these places, and that he was not doing any violence. He was basically just kind of, quote unquote, taking a walking tour. So he's been released. There was so much more that we've been waiting for Tucker to show us, but of course, somebody signs his paycheck and they got to him. Remember, Chuck E. Cheese Schumer went into the well of the Senate and said that Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, you've got to stop Tucker Carlson, fire him. Over the weekend, AOC wants Fox News and Tucker Carlson arrested for inciting the J6 insurrection. And so what do we have now? Tucker's out. Monday morning, Tucker is gone. Tucker was the one that generated them viewers. I'm sorry, stooge Sean Hannity is not your guy. Oh, I know he's your puppet. He's five-line Hannity. He'll go out there every night and he'll sound like a conservative, but he's really not. He's in it for the money. And any of you that watch Sean Hannity, you know, if you think you're really getting conservative insight from Sean Hannity, forget it. He is nothing but a paid stooge, period. He really ought to go back to painting houses. Laura Ingraham, yeah, whatever. Tucker was the guy. My prediction is they'll go through a whole series of, you know, rotating hosts at 8 o'clock. I'm thinking probably, what's his name? Jesse Waters gets the bump up to 8 o'clock. Now remember, this is also on the heels of Fox News settling for about $700 million, or was it $1 billion? $700 million with Dominion Voting. And, you know, trying to put that blame on Tucker Carlson. He knowingly every night went out and lied about us and besmirched us, and emails reveal that he didn't really believe what he was saying, but he had to say it to keep the... Tucker never believed that, quote unquote, 2020 was a stolen election. But he did point out over and over and over that there were legitimate problems and issues that need to be looked into. But of course, no one other than Democrats are ever allowed to question an election result, and apparently no one other than Democrats are ever allowed to question Dominion voting machines. despite the fact that Kamala thinks she's a hottie Harris was doing it prior to the election. That, these Dominion machines, we can't trust these. These can be manipulated. These can be tampered with. That was Kamala Harris saying that. So Tucker's out. I bring this up because also it was just last week that Dan Bongino announced to his podcast audience that he's done at Faux Pas News. Now, he was being very, over the top, trying to be, gracious about it. And I'm sure, the money's good, even to be like a consultant or, to get asked on. It helps him build his quote-unquote brand. It's exposure for him. So I'm sure he wanted to say nice things about Fox News so that, Sean Hannity and others would still be allowed to have him on once in a while as a guest, and that gets his name back out there in front of the Fox audience so they remember to go to danbongino.com, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Dan said, look, there's nothing bad. They let me do my show, and we just couldn't agree on terms for a new contract. Couldn't agree on terms. I got a feeling that the terms were not so much about money as it was content, and not even of his own show on Fox News. I'll bet Fox News wanted to put something in there about what he was allowed to say and not say on his podcast. I think Dan was the kind of guy that would have played by the Fox rules on Fox TV. All right, you're signing my paycheck. If you tell me there's certain things I can't talk about or get into here, I won't do it. You're signing my paycheck. It's your studio, your lights, your airtime. I'll respect that. I think they tried to step in and say, by the way, we're going to regulate what you do on your podcast because that's also a direct reflection on us. Bump, ba-dum, bump. So that happens. We get told on Friday that Bongino's previous Saturday show was his last show, but now Tucker's out. That's too coincidental in 72 hours. They were trying to, this is on one hand, trying to deflect the settlement that they had to make with Dominion. It's also about the pressure that Rupert Murdoch was under from the radical left, AOC, Chuck E. Cheese Schumer, that, listen, unless you really want us to bring the weight of the government down on you over releasing those videos, you better deal with Tucker. I wish Tucker nothing but the best. He's got his own media outlets that he can have a voice, I believe, even bigger than what he had on Fox News. Now, is he being threatened that the weight of the government will now come down on him directly and not have that corporate cover of Fox News? We don't know. But it is interesting. He was their number one anchor. And by the way, I'm sure he's what made their what is that online paid service they have? Fox Digital, whatever. And now that's all bye. It'll be interesting to see or to hear what Jimmy Dore has to say about this a little bit later. Jimmy Dore, leftist, but went on the Tucker Carlson show quite a bit and was constantly praising that Tucker Carlson was, over at Fox News, was really the one dealing with stories that nobody else in the media would deal with. And now Tucker's out. Now, some would say this is the price for paying the truth. What this ought to do is this ought to scare the snot out of you. If you still think we live in a free society where you can say what you want to say, that we have the freedom of speech, bull hock. Our media outlets, the news media, they're not about free speech. They're about propaganda, and they're about talking points. And the alphabet agencies of the United States government tell these media outlets exactly what they say. Don't ever again talk about how in Russia the people don't get real news, they get propaganda. No, you and I, based on the so-called big media in this country, get nothing but propaganda. When less than 10 corporations own 95% of all the media outlets. Independent radio stations and independent online guys are the only place you're going to get the freedom of speech. And it will be harder for them to shut down the independent radio stations than it will the online guys. The online guys are being purged now. Hey, look at what's happening. Look at what's happening. People are having their YouTube accounts purged over the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light story. We don't have freedom of speech. Donald Trump was the existential threat to democracy. No, all of this is happening under Joe Biden. Start putting this all together.